So I recently finished listening to Amie McNee's book, We Need Your Art, during my work commute, and it struck me as a brilliant reminder of something we rarely acknowledge: that creativity is an overlooked cornerstone of personal growth. Amie compares creativity to exercise, diet, and sleep, essential to well-being, yet it is rarely granted the same legitimacy. Instead, our culture tends to dismiss creative pursuits as hobbies. Creativity is weighed against capitalistic metrics of success, profit, and recognition, rather than valued for its immense internal benefits. This external pressure not only strips creativity of joy, but it also attaches shame and fear to something that is, at its core, deeply human. In writing this, I don't need to re-explain Amie's thesis because she already makes the case so eloquently. Instead, I want to overlay my psychological knowledge and my lived experience as both a psychologist and a musician to the idea that creativity is a lost pillar of self-development. My day job involves working with high performers, helping them sustain peak performance safely. But my central passion is creativity. I'm interested in its link to psychology, creativity as a form of productivity, and its undervalued role in society. I believe that creativity is soul work, but also deeply productive, requiring levels of mastery and perseverance that rival or exceed most conventional jobs. In part, this is why I refer to myself as a creative psychologist or a creativity psychologist. Artistically, I'm primarily a musician, though I do write across fiction and non-fiction. Philosophically, I believe everyone is inherently creative, though society's undervaluing of creativity has made me cling to the title deliberately. Not for my own ego, but to restore prestige to creativity as a genuine skill. This is even though I hold that it is more fundamentally a way of being, but you have to play the game to have some influence. So in this video, I will firstly be talking about creativity as something that is deeply internal and good for us, but then I'll also talk about how it benefits society externally. Children are often said to be more creative than adults. This might be partially true. Children do tend to score higher on divergent thinking tests, which is your ability to generate many ideas. This might be because they haven't yet internalized rigid rules and a fear of judgment, right and wrong. Adults, on the other hand, often, not always, but often, lose that exploratory drive due to conformity pressures and limited time. But adults do gain strengths, particularly in convergent thinking. This is your ability to refine, synthesize, and apply ideas to solve complex, real-world practical problems, which makes sense. Our schools and workplaces often suffocate creativity through emphasis on memorization, conformity, and the right answer. Ironically, the same organizations will spend thousands of dollars on workshops that simulate novelty in play, Lego building, brainstorming games, only to return to the status quo days later. Creativity doesn't vanish with age. Rather, it survives in those who rebel against conformity, possess particular personality traits, or, as Amie puts it, undertake an incredible act of rebellion by continuing to create. So what do we know from personality traits? Research consistently shows that openness to experience, which encompasses imagination, curiosity, and sensitivity to aesthetics, is the strongest predictor of creativity from a personality standpoint. Other traits matter too, though. Introverts may thrive in solitary creative pursuits, whilst extroverts may excel in collaborative or performative ones. Being highly conscientious, which is essentially your time management skill, might support persistence to see things through when you otherwise might not feel like it. Whereas being low in conscientiousness might actually free up some brain space for you to explore. Now, time management is really important in creativity because being able to see something through, despite not necessarily wanting to, will allow you to finish projects you otherwise might not have. And every creative will tell you that some of their best work has had times of struggle where they've had to persist through it. If you never persisted, you'd never finish anything. Agreeableness might be tied to community-oriented creativity, Or disagreeableness could be tied to rule breaking and radical creativity. The key point here is that creativity doesn't belong to a single type of person. Rather, different personalities bring different flavours of creativity. Capitalism, however, tends to reward traits such as conscientiousness, extroversion, and disagreeableness. This might lead quieter, reflective, or less organised creatives under-recognised and undercompensated in this world. So I want to draw a line from a creative spark to a better society. Let's see how we go. Psychologically, creativity is the bridge between intrinsic motivation, flow, productivity, and meaning. When you follow your curiosity and create for its own sake, you tap into your intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation fuels energy, reduces burnout, and opens the flow state, which is your optimal condition for focus, performance, or well-being. Intrinsic motivation means motivation that comes from within you, rather than externally, such as money or your boss yelling at you. From flow, meaningful work emerges in art, ideas, solutions. It's not only soul-soothing, but it's transformative, moving us towards self-actualization, which is our ability to realize our fullest selves and see that out. Creativity is thus both a pathway and a product of growth. When shared, creative output transcends the individual, connecting personal insight with societal benefit. Whether that's through painting, a new vaccine, an architectural breakthrough, or a business innovation, it's all the same. Our own unique understanding of our own drivers of intrinsic motivation is what is missing in so many people, in my opinion, especially creative people. There may not be the opportunity to pick up that someone's creatively inclined if we don't know how to look for it, and there may not be the pathways there that are clearly defined for people to be pushed in the direction of. Was that a sentence? Can't take yourselves too seriously. We are surrounded by creativity so seamlessly embedded that we often forget its origins. Art, music, books, films, fashion, architecture, design, medicine, science, technology, law, politics, sustainability all rely on creative breakthroughs. Once embedded in society, creative innovations become invisible, their creators forgotten, their labour undervalued so often. Yet the most praised people in society tend to be innovators. Fancy that. At the same time, workplaces, schools, healthcare, and politics often suppress creativity through rigid systems, bureaucracy, and a fear of failure. Yet research shows that environments encouraging play, autonomy, and risk-taking produce more innovation and well-being. Creativity is already everywhere, quietly holding up society. What's missing is recognition and fair pay. So is creativity really the lost pillar of self-development? I think so. Like exercise, diet, and sleep, it is essential to well-being. Yet it has been stripped of its legitimacy by cultural narratives and capitalistic metrics. Creativity fuels intrinsic motivation, which enables flow, brings meaning, and drives both personal transformation and societal progress. It is not a luxury or a hobby, but the very mechanism by which individuals self-actualize and societies evolve. To reclaim creativity as a pillar of self-development is to acknowledge that growth is not only about efficiency and survival, but about imagination, expression, and the courage to bring forth something new. I hope that we can develop a world that allows creativity to flourish. I'd just like to make one caveat for this video though. Whilst aspects of my argument might seem to push back against capitalism, and other aspects of my argument seem to suggest that creatives should get paid more, I am a realist. We live in the world that we live in, and if you live where I live, it's capitalist, and you need money to survive. I believe that the value of creativity surpasses money, but money is very important in the world that we live in. So this isn't an anti-capitalism video. I'm simply trying to position creativity as a fundamental input to productivity that benefits the world that we live in. As such, we should get paid more for creativity. So two things can be true at once. Intrinsic motivation is the key driver of creativity. However, in this world, I still do think that creatives should be paid significantly more for what they do. And I think working on figuring out that pathway will foster an environment where people are actually able to flourish more creatively because they're not so worried about making a living.